Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tandiwe Menze. Thank you for joining us for this afternoon's session. The title of the session is Information Retrieval. Just a bit of housekeeping before we begin. My colleague, Mrs. Sue Rionda, is going to be manning the chat. You would have seen that she has shared a link with you. So could you please do the survey before the session, and then she's going to share another link after the session where we kindly ask you to please take the survey. Thank you. I'm going to begin by defining information retrieval. Okay. Just as a disclaimer, we're going to be dealing with a lot of theory this afternoon. Do bear with us. The theory is meant to lay the groundwork for the database sessions that are going to be done in our later sessions. So in order to define information retrieval, I have on the slide, information retrieval refers to the process, methods, and procedures of searching, locating, and retrieving recorded data and information from a file or database. In libraries or archives, modern information retrieval is done by searching full text databases and locating items from bibliographic indexing databases. Furthermore, information retrieval is the activity of obtaining information resources that are relevant to an information need from a collection of those resources. Searches can be based on full text or other content-based indexing. Information retrieval is the science of searching for information either in a document, searching for documents as well, and also searching for the metadata that describes the data, as well as searching in databases of texts, images, and sounds. Further defining information retrieval. Information retrieval, or the recovery of information, especially in a database stored in a computer, there are two main approaches. The first one is matching words in the query against the database index. That would be the common keyword searching. Keyword searching has been the dominant approach to text retrieval since the early 1960s. The second mode is traversing the database using hypertext or hypermedia links. That would be, for example, when you're setting up alerts in the databases, that will be covered later. Then you will receive an alert and the link will direct you to that particular database. Evolving information retrieval techniques exemplified by developments with modern internet search engines combine natural language, hyperlinks, and keyword searching. Other techniques that seek higher levels of retrieval precision are studied by researchers involved with artificial intelligence. A print or computer-based system used to search and locate information in a file, database, or other collection of documents is called an information retrieval system. Just to recap what information retrieval is. Number one, what does information retrieval mean? The answer, information retrieval is finding material, usually documents, of an unstructured nature, usually text, that satisfied an information need from within large collections, usually stored on computers. Second question, what are the major components of the information retrieval process? The components of a traditional information retrieval system experiment include the indexing system, indexing, the searching methods and procedure. An indexing system can be human or automated. Collection of documents, text, image, or multimedia documents or document surrogates, for example, bibliographical records. The third recap, what is the goal of information retrieval? The aim of information retrieval is to provide the user with the best possible information from a database. The problem of information retrieval is determining what constitutes the best possible information for a given user query. What follows is a student's guide to the information retrieval process. Information retrieval can be described as a process that can be divided into different stages. I will show you the figure in the next slide. The figure below implies that the stages follow each other during the process, but in reality, they are often actively simultaneous and may have to be repeated during the same information retrieval process. This is the image or the diagram, stages of the information retrieval. You determine your problem, then the information retrieval plan is determined, then the information retrieval is started. You then evaluate the results when you have your results. Then you locate the publications, and then you evaluate the information. Okay, we're going to start with the first step, defining your topic. Information retrieval begins with defining the research topic or problem. Defining your research or defining your search or research topic or the problem. As an information seeker, you will have to clarify yourself as well as clarifying it to yourself, what information you are looking for and where you may be able to find it. When planning your information retrieval, the following search questions may help you define your topic. So this is how we're going to define the topic or the research problem. The first question, what is the topic you need information on? What do you need the information for? What is central to the topic? What is your angle of approach to the topic? What do you already know about that particular topic? Is the information you need generic or is the information scientific? Do you need pictures? How old should the information be? What language do you need the information in? Refining your topic is one of the most important decisions when you begin your work. If information on the topic can be found easily from many resources, you may want to consider narrowing down the topic to something more specific. Studying and reading basic literature on the topic field is key. You should know more about your topic than what you intend to include in your final work. The second criteria, choosing your search terms. The guideline to achieving best results in information retrieval is using specific and precise search terms. Try to find search terms that describe your topic as accurately as possible. Mind maps and concept maps may offer ways to outline your research problem and may help you identify suitable search terms. Research literature, articles, dictionaries, specialized vocabularies such as subject headings and thesaurus are also good resources for possible search terms. And sometimes you may want to use Wikipedia. Even though the academic fraternity frowns on using Wikipedia, I often do. And then you're going to be executing information retrieval. Below is a list of different information resources found in information centers and also available online. The types of information resources that are available. First, you've got books and journals. Traditional resources such as books and articles are published in journals have gone through an acceptance or a peer review process prior to their publication, so they can be considered as trusted sources of information. As the publication process of journals is generally quicker than that of books, scientific articles in journals often contain the most current information available in a scientific field or fraternity. The bibliographies of relevant books are also a good place to look for new information resources for your research. The second type of resource are reference works. Reference works include dictionaries, encyclopedia, handbooks, registers, and standards. They provide factual information, including relevant terminology and concepts, and help you form a general picture of your research topic. Some reference books are multidisciplinary, while others are specialized in a certain field or fraternity. And the third example, you have theses. When starting your final thesis project, you should check whether any research has been done on your topic. Relevant theses from previous students provide a good starting point and example. However, you should not use them as the only information resource because the quality of the thesis can vary. The fourth example of an information resource would be reports and conference publications or conference proceedings. Research reports, report serials, and conference publications by different organizations also offer information on new research. The fifth type of information resource, archival material. The archives of different organizations maintain and arrange documents, objects, and images accumulated by the mother organization that can be used for research purposes. And then we move on to the stage of choosing information resources. One should begin by identifying the central information resources in your research field. Then you should use multiple resources to gather enough information for your work. Using just one database really offers enough information on a topic. Information retrieval techniques. There are two types of information retrieval techniques: full text or word search, as well as subject term searches. Full text or word search is most suited for the beginning stages of your research or topic. Full text search is also helpful if the field of research is new, the terminology has not been established in subject terms, or the topic is very specific. Any words of natural language can be used as search terms in a full text search. The search query can include multiple words and synonyms, which will give comprehensive search results. The search terms can be in different languages, especially if the search is done in a database that contains information in multiple languages. Full text searches often result in a lot of unnecessary data because it looks for your terms anywhere in the record. The broader the database or your topic, the harder it is to find relevant results using word searches. Now we move on to subject term searches. A subject term search gives more accurate results than a full text search and limits the search to the subject term field. However, keep in mind that using just the subject term search function can narrow your search results too much. A thesaurus is an alphabetical list of subject terms used to describe the content of a document. Thesauri often have a hierarchical structure and suggest broader, narrower, and related terms for each subject term listed. that the story of international databases are most often specific to that particular database or scientific field and are available through the database. When we do sessions on the databases, we will introduce you to the various thesauri that are in a particular database. For example, when we do searches in EBSCOhost. This is just an example of a search. So if you use plain text, the results, we were looking at mobile phones and the results were 191,955. If I used Boolean operators, then I got results that came down to 97,852. So this is just an example of how you would expand your results as well as limit the results. But the hands-on will be done on later webinars. Moving on, this is an example of using search terms. So when you use the search field, this would be an example. Advanced search is recommended if you are making thorough searches. In advanced search, it is easy to focus the search properly from the start. Combining search terms with and or not, these are Boolean operators, and they are easy to do in advanced searches. In most databases, it is possible to focus the search to full text, abstract, subject terms, and etc. You might also be able to select a specific document type, a language, or a publication date. Usually, it is also possible to refine the search from the search results list as well. Moving on to the point of evaluating the search results. So these are the criteria you're going to use. If, when doing your searches, there are not enough search results, then you would apply the following checklist. You would look for new search terms from the search results you have retrieved. Then you would ask yourself, are you using the right database? Using just one database is really enough to meet your information need or information needs. Try to think of more synonyms for your search terms. You would use the thesauri in the various databases to find synonyms, or you could just go to Wikipedia or do a simple Google search. Or you should ask yourself, should you use multiple languages in your search? Use a broader search term, e.g. distribution to logistics. Only combine search terms when it is necessary. Have you truncated the search terms correctly? That is going to be explained when we do sessions on the databases. Then you should also ask yourself, have you spelled the search terms correctly? Then the second question you should ask yourself, this is in the case when there are too many search results. The following checklist applies. Search with subject terms instead of a full text search. Refine your search by using the fields available, for example, the title or abstract field when possible. Combine your search terms with an AND operator. Check if it is possible to limit your search to information in a specific format in the database. This is often possible in international databases. The majority of our databases are international, so you'd be able to use this functionality throughout the databases. Refine your search by defining the desired publication year or years, or the language. Use a narrower search term from logistics to distribution. That's an example. Then the next criteria, if you have more or less similar results, you would ask yourself the following questions. After finding an interesting search result, it might be a good idea to check the references of the article and also similar articles or view related documents. You might also want to check citation databases like Scopus, Web of Science, and Google Scholar, which contain information about citing articles. Then we come to the stage of evaluating and using your information. I'm going to highlight the criteria when evaluating your information. Okay, I see your question. I'm going to leave it to my colleague to answer, or we can respond later on. Thank you. The first criteria, you should look for the most current information in your field because new research is sometimes produced quickly, leaving earlier research in need of updating. Then, information changes in different time frames in different scientific fields. For example, philosophic information is updated less frequently than that in, for example, technical sciences. Following are the criteria for evaluating information. Some criteria for evaluating the quality of information and source criticism are listed below. The criteria apply to both printed and especially to electronic resources. These are the following criteria. First, you're going to ask yourself the authority. Is the material produced by a known agency, organization, or expert? Does the creator have authority in the field or topic in question? Does the universal resource locator or the URL address of the website tell you who has produced the material? Can you find an email address or other contact details for the author or organization responsible for the material online? Then you move to the validity. Is the information thoroughly researched? Is it objective and is it reliable? Is a bibliography or a list of references included in the online content? Can the information be verified? To confirm the accuracy of the information, you can check works listed in the bibliography or list of references. Online content has been reviewed by a third party, such as a publisher, editor, or through the peer review process. So these are questions that you would need to ask yourself. Moving on to the content. Is the text content objective or is it subjective? Is the information factual or does it represent the author's personal opinion? Is the information unique or can similar or more accurate information be found elsewhere? It is very important that you distinguish factual websites from sites that present claims, opinions, propaganda, or discussion threads. The fourth criteria, the comprehensiveness of the information. Does the material discuss the topic from more than one point of view? How comprehensive is the information? How detailed is the information? Is the information limited to a certain time period? Then you need to determine the purpose or the aim. Why has the author or publisher published the material? Why have they chosen to publish it online? Then you need to determine the target audience. Who is the information intended for? Does the information match your information need or your information needs? Then you need to look at alternative information resources. Is the same information available from a different information resource? For example, in an alternative medium or format. The eighth criteria is the information up to date. Does the document have a date? Is the information current? Is more current information available somewhere else? Does the information need updating? When was the content created? And when was it last updated? How often was the content updated? The ninth criteria, is the information well organized? Does the material include a table of contents? Is the text clear to look at and read? Is the text written well and grammatically correct? Okay, so I'm just going to show you an example from what I have discussed. Okay. So remember earlier we talked, or I mentioned Boolean operators. These would be and, or not. Okay, I'm just titillating your taste buds. I'm not going to go too much into this information because it's going to make sense when we are doing sessions on the actual databases. Then we'll be able to show you how the Boolean operators operate. But I'm just showing you. So for example, in terms of doing a search on the database and you use keywords and you're connecting your keywords with the Boolean operator and. So if you connect all your keywords with the Boolean operator and, you'll see that the shaded part, that would be the information results that you would retrieve from a database, including all the keywords. So when you use the Boolean operator and, it refines and limits the results that you get. If you use the Boolean operator or, it then expands the results that you get. If you use the Boolean operator not, it will also either limit or expand, but it will exclude certain terms from your result list. This will make sense when we're doing actual searches on the databases. And of course, I spoke on truncation. So if you look at the asterisks in the example, basically what truncation is you are using a root term during a search, you add the asterisks. So let's say like diabetes. So it's going to look for diabetes or diabetic. So instead of typing the various examples, you just use a root term and the truncation, and you would get the results. The compliant, you might get compliance or compliant. So you don't have to type every single word. And for example, if you're looking up dictionaries, if you're looking up encyclopedia, instead of typing both the British version of the word or the American version, you would just add the truncation or asterisk after the P, and the results would include the E or they would include AE, the various UK or British, as well as the American spelling. Okay. Let me move on. So this is what I wanted to talk about. So extracting search terms. I've just taken, this is the title of a thesis that is on our repository. The title is Floodplain Ecology, Using Growth Rates as a Proxy for Understanding the Importance of Flood Pulse on Fish in the Caprivi, Namibia. So when you're extracting the keywords, you'll see that I have canceled the less important terms, and I've left floodplain ecology, I have left growth rates, I have also left flood pulse, Caprivi, and Namibia. So when you're doing the search in the database, this is how you would structure the keywords. That is your search string. The first example in the brackets, flood, floodplain, or flood pulse, they are placed in a bracket because they are synonyms of each other. And you'll see that I've also used the truncation. In the example floodplain, we're going to get results for floodplain or floodplains. There's ecosystem and ecology. Okay, and on and on. This is just an example of how you would extract keywords from your topic. But the beauty of using databases now is that because of the AI functionality, you can simply copy and paste that full topic in a database, and the database will extract the various keywords and give you results. But that will be shown when we are doing searches on the databases themselves. Okay, I'm not going to talk any further because the rest on this worksheet is going to be covered in the database portions of our sessions. And that should be the end of the presentation. And I will take any questions either from our virtual attendees or from the physical attendees. But I do believe that my colleague, Mrs. Surionda, has been doing a good job of manning the chat. Let me just go to the chat option. Okay, I answered that. Okay, so this is the link for the survey that you would have had to do. Okay, that's a question, and my colleague has answered. Are they subject-specific, the SOE, e.g. for education, philosophy, etc.? And yes, that is correct, they are. Okay, please tell me if my thesis, I want to paste a map from a certain resource. Do I have to get a license? If yes, how? Okay, my colleague has answered, and the response is sufficient. My colleague will now proceed to put the link, the final link. Okay. Just to be sure, are there any questions from our physical attendees? Not yet. Okay. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Sue for manning the chats. And thank you, Sue, for sharing the diagnostic and summative assessment links. And that is me. Thank you very much for attending. The slides or the presentations will be shared. As I mentioned earlier, the library has a YouTube account. Once the configurations have been completed, all the presentations will be shared on that YouTube account. But if you urgently want to get the presentation, then you can contact us through email. There's my email address. Or you can also contact my colleague, Ms. Tobilem Tetwa. I believe when you signed up for the session, you would have gotten an email from her, and you will use that email address. Okay, if there are any further questions from our virtual and physical attendees, I will then end the session. Thank you very much for taking the time to visit us physically in the library, as well as participating on the virtual platform. Thank you. Bye-bye.